Welcome in to Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs. Coming up on today's program, got some injury news, some last-second stuff that we need to talk about before this Texans Cowboys Monday Night Football matchup. It's going to be a big one between the two Texas teams. You have the Texans, you have the Cowboys. Monday Night Football in Jerry World at AT&T Stadium. It's going to be a night game, so we won't have to worry about the curtains being closed or open for the Dallas Cowboys. But we do have some new injury news to break down on today's show. And as you might have seen, the Texans dropped their injury reports with a couple notable guys out on Monday night. First up, Will Anderson Jr. is going to be out for another game dealing with that ankle injury he suffered up against the Jets on Thursday Night Football. MetLife Stadium, I hate you still. I hate you so much, MetLife Stadium. He is out another week with an ankle injury, but maybe a more interesting one. Foley Fatukasi is going to be out on Monday night up against the Cowboys. Left the last Sunday's game with a foot injury up against the Lions. He is out this week. That is a little bit more concerning to me. Now, the Texans will be getting Mario Edwards Jr. back, and they do have Danico Autry there in the middle. You also have Tim Settle. You traded away Khalil Davis. So the interior is at a decent spot, but in my opinion, Foley Fatukasi has been the best interior defensive lineman in terms of stopping the run for this Texans team. Now, the Cowboys, they don't have an amazing rushing attack with Zeke and Rico Dowdle, but it still is a little bit of a concern for me that Foley Fatukasi will be missing this game. Another guy who will be out in this matchup, Blake Fisher, the swing tackle for the Texans. He will be out. He's dealing with a concussion. So the Texans, they've had some injuries along the offensive line. Laramie Tunsil has had to miss, drives, has had to miss here and there with various injuries. So if he has to leave, means now Blake Fisher will not be coming in to the game for the Texans on Monday Night Football. We have a couple guys who are questionable as well. Kamari Lassiter and Jeff Okudah, which kind of puts into question this Texans secondary. We know Derek Stingley, he was out a little bit this week, but I think that was more of a rest for Stingley in the fact that he's played throughout this entire year. They want to kind of make sure he's good to go for this Monday Night Football. But Kamari Lassiter dealing with a concussion that he suffered up against the Lions on Sunday Night Football. That is very concerning to me because, Kamari Lassiter is a huge part of this Texans defense. Now, once again, we're going up against the Cowboys. Cooper Rush at quarterback. So, am I super worried? No, as of right now, I am not. But I am interested to see where Jeff Okudah lies. He's been out this entire season with a quad injury. Started off the year on short-term IR, was eligible to come back after week 4, but we haven't seen him yet. Will this be his debut for the regular season for the Houston Texans? Hopefully so, because I'd like to see what he can bring as some depth for this Texans defense, which they haven't had a ton of this year. I mean, the depth for this team along the defensive back unit has felt like a revolving door with Desmond King being signed and waived and signed and waived. You have Kadar Holman, who's been with this team. You have D'Angelo Ross, who's also been signed and cut and signed and cut. So I'd like to see some more continuity along the back end for this Texans secondary unit. Hopefully, Jeff Okudah can bring some semblance of, continuity for this Texans team. Some good news for the Texans, though. Dameon Pierce was a full participant later in the week. C.J. Stroud obviously has a little bit of a hand injury, but he's a full participant throughout the week. We also have Nico Collins, who, maybe the best news if you're a Texans fan is the fact that Nico Collins will be playing on Monday night. The Texans have severely, and I mean severely, missed him since he's been gone. And now, out for 5 games. Stephon Diggs was injured in that time period. This is a massive game for the Texans to catapult themselves ahead of the rest of the AFC South. And also, maybe stay in contention for that second seed, maybe the first seed, depending on how the Chiefs-Bills games go. I'm actually filming it during the second quarter of that game. But Nico Collins, I'm so excited to see him back. I'm so ready to see 12 back out on the field. Type 12 if you're with me. I'm so pumped to see him out there for the Houston Texans. Now, we have some interesting news around the Dallas Cowboys and their injury situation. But first, a word from our sponsors over at PrizePicks. They are daily fantasy sports made easy, folks. With over 5 million active members, PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. All you do is choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action and become part of the PrizePicks community with your friends today. Not only football, they also have basketball, hockey, MMA, all of it available over on PrizePicks, and it's the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and win real money all football season long. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So get started today with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app in PrizePicks. Now, for the Texans, obviously, no Dak. You don't have, a couple key guys over there on the Cowboys sidelines. And as I was looking through the Cowboys injury report, a name creeped up on Saturday. CeeDee Lamb, which the Cowboys wide receiver one, their main weapon, their only weapon on the offensive side, in my opinion, right now is CeeDee Lamb. And he's come up with a very strange injury, in my opinion. I'm interested to see how that goes because, with CeeDee Lamb being out for the Cowboys, what does that mean for this team? What does that mean for this Cowboys offense that, maybe was relying a little bit on CeeDee Lamb to get him through there? But now that he might be out, that is rough news for this Texans team. For this Cowboys team, because honestly, without CeeDee Lamb, don't get me wrong. Everybody expected the Texans to win regardless. Everybody expected the Texans to come out on top in this matchup. But if you take CeeDee Lamb out of the equation, is it even a ball game? Because you already had major injuries to Deron Bland, their starting corner. He doesn't look like he's going to be playing. You also have injuries to Jordan Lewis, another cornerback for them. Obviously, Dak is out. Micah Parsons has been injured. Tyler Smith along the offensive line, he has been injured. Zach Martin has been injured as well. You have, Chuma Adoga, who is a, rotational offensive lineman, has been injured. So this Cowboys team has dealt with a ton of injuries. And now you add CeeDee Lamb, the only semblance of hope that this Cowboys offense have had to really stick it to the Texans. I wonder how the Texans proceed. Because if the Cowboys are going to sit CeeDee Lamb, if they're going to sit their best player on offense, they don't have Dak Prescott, they don't have all these key guys. Do the Texans maybe play it safe with a couple of these guys? I know when we talked about Kamari Lassiter early, we talked about a couple guys who are questionable. Do they sit those guys just to be safe? You don't want to say it's a gimme at all because this is the National Football League. Anybody can beat anybody any given week. But without CeeDee Lamb, are you rushing Kamari Lassiter back onto the field this week? In my opinion, I don't think you need to. I really don't, because you have a pretty good defense already. You have guys who can step up. Maybe you let Jeff Okudah start on the outside and see what you have in him opposite Derek Stingley. Because I'd much rather see that and make sure Kamari Lassiter is good to go, because we have a gauntlet coming up, folks. 10 days, 3 games. 3 games in 10 days. You have the Dolphins, you have the Ravens, and you have the Chiefs. That's going to be an absolute slugfest for the Texans coming up. And if you can be as healthy as possible going into those games, you do that. So maybe you do sit Kamari Lassiter, maybe you do sit a couple of these guys to make sure they don't get injured up against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night. That's all I got for you on today's show, folks. I just wanted to give you a quick update on some Texans injuries, some Cowboys injuries, and some stuff to watch for this Monday Night Football matchup. Reminder, I will be live here on the channel Monday Night Football. Be here. be there, be square. That's what I was trying to say. Be here or don't be cool like me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for daily Texans videos all year long, and we'll be live tomorrow night. Play-by-play, giveaways, a lot of fun. Don't miss out. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure to tune in tomorrow night for Texans Cowboys.